I believe that if you're good enough at branding, you will never have to be a salesman a day in your life. And every good brand starts by knowing its audience. How's it going, friends? My name is Jesse Lynch and I run multiple real estate teams around the United States. And on this channel, I am frankly only interested in helping real estate agents who want to do things differently. And on this video specifically, I'm talking about the importance of creating an avatar as you create your own brand. I realize that's not necessarily like the coolest concept, but I'm a diehard believer in the importance of it. If you subscribe to this channel, which you should, by the way, if you want to do things differently, you're going to hear me say this a lot, probably on this channel. But I truly believe that if you are trying to speak to everybody, if your audience is anybody with a pulse, anybody who might at some point want to buy or sell real estate, then you are talking to nobody. And a ton of people that I help or work with or whatever think that by limiting your audience, by coming up with a target audience, by coming up with an avatar, that they're actually cutting out potential business. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think it's the utmost importance that you have a niche, you have an identity, and that people can think of one thing when they think about what it is you do. To make things simple, I thought I would start with a real estate example, as this is a page about real estate. Right back here is the Itasca Lofts. Right over here is the Borealis Apartments. These are condos, these are apartments. And while they do both solve the same general issue, which is a place to live, a home, and four walls and a roof, they have two completely different target audiences, two completely different avatars. One is rental, it's more short-term, it's not intended as an investment, it's a place to live. One is a loft, you own it, you pay an HOA fee, and you can put roots in a little bit more right there. And if this apartment building was trying to get the same clientele as this condo building, they'd be barking up the wrong tree. They're talking to the wrong person. And likewise, if the condo building is advertising to the apartment clients, they're talking to the wrong audience. I have found it extremely valuable to narrow in on exactly who I'm talking to, down to the person. That's what we're gonna do the rest of this video. I'm not gonna talk about why you gotta do it. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to think about to create an avatar so you know who you're talking to. All right, y'all, this right back here is the Target Center. It is the basketball stadium, the NBA stadium, among other things, where the Timberwolves play. And this is First Avenue. This was made famous by Prince, The Replacements, etc. And the reason I bring this up is because these are both legendary. They both are businesses that have crushed it over time. And while they both can technically, do the same thing, which is host a concert or something like that, host an event of some sort, they are both very realistic about what they are. First Avenue, for example, would not try to host a massive show with a $20,000 seat. They also certainly wouldn't be hosting a Timberwolves game. And likewise, the Target Center isn't going to host the best local bands of 2024. And actually, real quick, right this way, there's another venue within First Avenue called 7th Street Entry, and 7th Street Entry is the smaller venue alongside First Avenue. And 7th Street Entry has to know what it is. It has to have an understanding of its place in the market as it compares to everything else, or it'll fail. So we're gonna start with the basics. And when I talk about what an avatar is literally creating a single individual, a fictional single individual that you are going to model pretty much all of your customers after. And when I mean a single individual, I don't mean this general community. That's not what an avatar is. That might be more what a target audience is, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about one person. So you have to give this person a name. For the sake of this video, we're naming our person Paul. You then also want to decide what gender this person is, right? So that's up to you. Paul in this case is a male. Paul's also the guy shooting this video right now. What's up, Paul? Now you're going to determine the age of the person. Are they 33? Are they 21? Are they 40? Are they 988, right? What is the age of the person? Now, marital status. Are they married, single, engaged, divorced, widowed, something else? And then, do they have kids? And if so, how many? What are the ages? No kids, 6 kids. Is it like a Brady Bunch family where they have 3 biological, 3 stepkids? Just spell that out. What does that look like? Are they 70 and they have 6 kids and 12 grandkids? That's all important, and it will help you understand who it is you're talking to. Now, what is their location? Where are they from? Are they from the metropolitan area that you're already from, or are you a little bit more relocation based? At which point, if you are relocation based, don't just say they're relocating here. Where specifically are they from? I found that dealing with people from the West Coast is very different than dealing with people from the East Coast, and of course the Midwest is different yet again. You could literally find an address if you want, but I think probably neighborhood in a city or town outside of a suburb would probably be fine as well. Now, what is the role of this person, this particular client? Now, I want you to think about, what is this role of this person? A lot of the time, the people that I'm attracting to work with us, the first person who's interested in the sort of marketing that I'm doing isn't necessarily the person who's going to be on the loan, right? They're not necessarily the final decision maker, but let's say they are the decision maker. Are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they an investor? And no, let's not make it be all of those things. So now we have Paul, he's 28, he's single, ready to mingle, he's got no kids, he lives in Minneapolis, and he's a buyer. Cool. Now I want you to drill down even further into just like who he is, what he spends time doing, and it will again help you inform future decisions that you make. So what is his field of work? Is he in construction? Is he in tech, marketing, the military? Is he an insurance salesman? Is he in retail or hospitality? And then that's the general field. And then once you decide that, now I want you to decide specifically what job title does he have within that particular industry? Is he the owner of a company? Is he the janitor of a company? Does he do user interface or IX or UX or whatever they call that? Is he a regional manager? Is he an assistant to the regional manager? And then drill another step down. How much money does he make in a year? Is it 60K, 120K, 700K, 40 million a year? What is it? Once you decide that, you probably will realize that you've restricted yourself a little bit on what the next answer is, which is, what is their education level? Is it a GED, high school diploma, associate's, bachelor's, master's, PhD? Are they just self-taught owner, right? Any of that stuff. Now it starts to get a little more flowery maybe, and I think again it's where people start to question what they're doing. What's a quote that person might be associated with? Again, like, what's their attitude toward things? Is it life's a garden, dig it? Is it live, laugh, love? Is it live a quarter mile at a time? Or is it, maybe something actually more profound than that? Then I want you to ask yourself, what is the inspiration for this person to use you as a service provider, as a real estate agent? Why do they want to buy a home or sell a home or whatever? What's the inspiration behind the move to hire a realtor at all? Is it for stability? Is it because they need more space or a quieter area? Is it because they're in a rural place and they want to be somewhere where there's more opportunity? Is it because they want more access to cool things, right? What is it in their life that is inspiring this change? And then miscellaneous section. If you have thoughts about who this person is that maybe has something to do with you, or that might draw them to you because it's also what you're into, put it in this miscellaneous section. Things like, are they into cars or Formula One or NASCAR, right? Are they into music, and what kind of music? Is it hip hop? Is it indie rock? Is it EDM? Is it country? Is it Garth? Is their family super into camping? Are they very, very outdoorsy? Did this person grow up on a farm? Did they grow up poor? Are they a trust fund baby, right? Those miscellaneous things will help to give some color, some shape to this individual. I just realized I spilled coffee on my shirt, and I can't shoot the rest of this video with a dirty white shirt. Take me to Duluth Trading Company. So now that we have an idea of who they are, what they're up to, what their family and lifestyle situation is like, now we're going to start thinking about how they think. And specifically, we're going to start with their values. And values is a weird word for it, but ultimately I want you to ask yourself the question of, what does Paul, or whoever your person's name is, what does Paul value in a realtor, in a real estate agent, in a real estate team, in a brokerage, whatever you're trying to pull off here? Like some examples, do they care about hardworking, right? Are they really looking for somebody who's a go-getter, who's got hustle, and they're taking that approach? Are they looking for a straight shooter, or do they kind of like the feeling of being sold? I can't believe there are people out there that like the feeling of being sold, but there are. I'm very much the opposite. Do they like reliable? I would argue most people like reliable, but is that something that they are looking for and that you can speak to? Like, hey, I'm out here, I wake up 5 o'clock on the dot every day, I go to the gym 5:30, you know, like I am a Swiss-made clock. I do everything in like a rigid fashion. I'm extremely reliable in that regard. Me, not so much. Reliable, I work hard, but I am not wound quite that tight. So other things to think about. Do they want you to be a sharp dresser, right? Do you have to wear a suit to get this target audience? Is that what they're after? Or do they like it casual, right? Do they want somebody who feels like they've had work done or have veneers and feel sort of Hollywood? Or again, are they maybe cooler with it feeling more down home, more authentic, more old school? And then, I mean, do they want you to be nice, or do they want cutthroat, right? Some people want somebody who feels like they could hug them every time they see them, whereas other people might want somebody who's like maybe a little bit cutthroat enough that they'll maybe do something borderline unethical if it's in your best interest. But honestly, I can't stop thinking about this. I have this stain on my shirt, so one second, I'm gonna go get a new shirt. That's better. And under this same concept, we were talking about what are the values of your avatar. Pretty much right along that same line of thinking is what are the goals of this avatar? And when you think about goals, I think the question you need to ask is, what goals can I help my avatar achieve? I don't care if they have a weight loss goal, if you're a realtor, right? Like that isn't what we're talking about. What can I help them achieve? What goals directly apply to what I do? So as far as a realtor goes, I mean, some of this is probably fairly self-explanatory. Getting a great house, getting a good deal, getting it done quickly, ending up in a desired neighborhood, or maybe even learning about new neighborhoods that they weren't aware of. But then things like having a connection or having a referral to a great lender, inspector, title company, attorney, or even contractors. Maybe you're doing fix and flip style things where you will buy them a house and renovate it, and they'll have a beautiful style home because they work with you. It's somewhat serendipitous that I spilled coffee on my shirt and had to get a new t-shirt. I promise we didn't intend on this, but I actually think that these two brands are really, really good examples of two brands that have probably a fairly similar avatar. They ultimately serve the same purpose, which is to provide somebody with clothing, and they're even somewhat aligned in as far as niche goes. Duluth Trading Company is very much like a workwear, sort of blue collar, maybe even like upper blue collar clothing style, and Boot Barn is also very much workwear, farm wear, cowboy stuff. But these two places have to have distinct identity. And they do. I think it's distinct enough within a somewhat similar niche that they can exist right next to each other and they don't hurt each other's business. And in fact, there's probably an argument that they help each other's business, because maybe you go to Boot Barn and you say, wow, I didn't know that there was a Duluth Trading Company right there. I've seen Duluth Trading Company stuff. Let's hit up that place. Or vice versa, I'm looking for a flannel. I went to Duluth Trading Company, I got a flannel I like, maybe Boot Barn has one too. And to the extent that I think those things can work where you can have a really similar avatar to somebody else, it would be in a relationship like a lender, right? A title company, somebody else involved in your greater team could exist alongside you, and it wouldn't hurt your business, it would help your business. Then I think this is a very foundational and might feel somewhat basic question to be asking yourself, but what are the wants and needs of your avatar? It might be basic, but I think it will help you arrive at the root of so much of the marketing and so much of the brand that you try or decide to put out there. So specifically, what does Paul, what does your avatar, want in a realtor? I think some simple ones would be things like confidence. Basically, they want to feel confident in you, not necessarily like a braggadocious confidence that you possess, but they want to be confident in you, and they want you to have a good understanding of how the market is behaving, or what it takes to get an offer accepted, or what it takes to sell your house for as much money as possible. A big thing that a lot of people are going to want is stuff like flexibility, right? Easy to get a hold of. They're going to want to make sure that when they want to see a house, you can make yourself available to show them that house. Maybe they want you to be ethical, right? Maybe that's something they really, really are searching for, is an ethical realtor. Maybe they want somebody who blurs the line of ethics, right? They want somebody who will maybe do something a little bit messy. Not that you probably should be advertising that, but it might help you shape your brand accordingly. Then, do they want you to be an area expert or a negotiation expert, right? Those are probably some things that somebody might want, but dive deep. What are the specific things, given the person that you're helping, what are the things that they're going to want from you? And then needs is often a different or just more intense version of the same thing. So what does your avatar need from you? I literally can't remember if I said that those were all wants or needs just then. They were needs. So let's go into wants. What are the nice to haves? Because that's a way that a lot of people are going to be thinking about it. I think something like a proven track record. Maybe they'd like that, but maybe you're brand new, so you can't really provide that. So that would help you shape how you are selling yourself otherwise. Maybe they want somebody who feels like a friend, right? They want like a good hang. I think that's a lot of people that work with me want somebody who they would hang out with outside of the real estate transaction. But not everybody needs that, right? Maybe that's a nice to have, and it's a reason that people might be drawn to working with you or me, but not necessarily a must. Maybe they want a respectful tone, right? Maybe they want to feel respected by you. Maybe if they're a luxury buyer, they want to feel almost revered by you, right? Like almost like a level of obedience, which we technically all owe all of our clients, but maybe a level of yes sir, that very, very high level of respect. Maybe they're going to be pretty nervous and they just want you to be like a part-time therapist. I think I end up being a part-time therapist for about half of the clients that I work with. They just need some talking through, some, hey, is this a crazy thing to do? Then some people might want you to be extremely timely, right? Never be late. I really don't want somebody who would ever be late. Other people might want an agent who won't berate them if they are late, right? Maybe somebody who has a busy schedule, they're like I might be 5 minutes late from time to time because I have work or, certain things that are make things a little bit harder to pull off. I think a lot of those are sort of the positive motivations, right? What do they want? What are they after? And next we're going to talk through some of what I think of as the negative motivations, the negative things about their experience or whatever that you are going to want to be aware of. Before the light gets too crazy, I have to go take a picture of downtown. So sick. Okay, let's talk about these more negative motivations. I think of them as frustrations and obstacles. And basically frustrations are, what might you do that will frustrate the hell out of your client, right? Or what might a realtor do? Hopefully you don't do any of these things because you've predicted them. One would be, simple stuff that a realtor could do that might really annoy a client is being slow to respond, right? Failing to show up to a showing, failing to set up a showing in time. Other things that might frustrate your avatar would be if you aren't taking them seriously, or if they feel like you aren't taking them seriously. I think that gets annoying. Or they won't have all the cards. You won't explain everything to them, and then they'll feel like, had I known XYZ, I would have made a different decision, but you didn't tell me those things, so now I'm frustrated. Other things that might frustrate them are simple things. If they have kids, maybe their kids at a showing, maybe that's frustrating, right? Is there anything you can do to help solve that problem? Maybe if you're talking on the phone with an agent representing a buyer or a seller, maybe they'll feel like you're a pushover, and so they're not being properly represented. So that frustration, that's one huge negative emotion that we want to probably avoid in helping whatever client we're helping. And the next one is what I would think of as like an anxiety or a fear, like what is your client, your avatar, potentially afraid of? And I think some of those things to get the juices flowing are things like radio silence. Pretty much every buyer, every seller hates too prolonged of a radio silence. Depending on how sophisticated the client is, the buyer is, observed incompetence or perceived incompetence would likely be an anxiety-inducing moment. If they realize that somebody is representing them and they get like a whiff of incompetence, it's probably not going to feel very good in that particular moment. Likewise, some people might not like too nonchalant of an agent. Some people really might like a nonchalantness in their agent, but again, is that your avatar? Maybe not. Other things that are going to cause anxiety, cause fear for the buyer are the fear of buying a lemon, right? The fear of missing out on a really good house, on the perfect house, because their representation, you, didn't do a good job. There's probably 1,000 of these. A couple other ones would be, is Paul going to have disagreements or, not quite see eye to eye with his wife? Are they going to have a hard time arriving at a house that works for everybody? Or is that always going to be a point of friction? Is there a way that you can solve that? They might be anxious that their kids are going to be, not great while they're at showings, and they'll feel a little bit embarrassed by that. They might feel anxious if you're a bad driver and you're showing them around. That would definitely make me feel super anxious. And then some people just are gonna feel anxious about showings and navigating the entire process. And so if you've managed to quell the frustrations and the anxieties and the fears and whatever of your avatar, then you're pretty close, right? Cool, yeah, they might be interested in working with you, but do they have any deal breakers? Is there anything that you could do that would absolutely make it totally out of the question that they wouldn't work with you? And if there's no deal breakers, what are the other obstacles that might be at play? So let's talk deal breakers. To me, deal breakers are just basically like, is there anything you can do in your branding, in your online presence, in your marketing that would be an instant deletion? Nope, I will not work with that person or with that brand. For me, there are certain things that are pretty much deal breakers where if somebody comes across as slimy or like the used car salesman vibe, that is going to be a deal breaker pretty much every time. But for other people, being too meek, being a little too passive. Some people might be like, nope, I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't have a little bit of an edge to them. Some people are very sensitive to bullshitters, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm just talking to talk and I just want to get you wrapped up in a conversation, or I'm clearly asking you about your day, but I have no intention to actually listen. All I'm trying to do is get you in a conversation so I can try to convert you, right? Some people, that's just absolutely not interested. Other deal breakers would be dropping the ball, right? Or if somebody came out and said, I worked with this person and they dropped the ball on me in a really massive way. That would be nope, not gonna work with them. For me, too high strung of a person would be a deal breaker. I don't want to work with somebody who's super, super high strung. Likewise, I don't want a too type A of an experience, right? I want somebody who has good attention to detail, but doesn't make my life annoying because they are so type A. I think a couple other things that people aren't always thinking about is being judgmental, right? Is being openly judgmental about somebody who isn't necessarily, maybe it's not your avatar, but they don't like the idea that you're judging other things, other way that people are living, right? If you were to say something bad about a house, right? Maybe a modest house or whatever, just, I don't like that. I think there are going to be people who don't like that you are hating on certain things, basically. And then I think probably a really big one that people either decide to lean into or abstain from is, political opinions and basically political opposition, right? If you're voicing your opinion politically, maybe that's good. Maybe then you get to attract people who have like-minded opinions as far as politics are concerned. But maybe there are people who would be the perfect avatar otherwise that just don't like that you're being political. So like I said earlier, let's say you've handled all of these deal breakers and they're not there, and so there is no deal breaker for this person. What might other obstacles be that are stopping them from working with you? One would be they don't know you exist. That's a big one. I think a ton of people aren't busy because people don't know that they exist, or people don't know that they exist and are doing the service that would be helpful for that person. Next up would be they don't know how to get a hold of you, right? Maybe they've seen bits and pieces of your branding, but they don't have a clear way to reach out to you. And that's on you. You just got to make sure that your branding has a clear route for, hey, here's how to get a hold of me. And sometimes too many options makes people, afraid to, or feel like a certain avenue might be the unofficial avenue and they don't want to do something wrong. So having a pretty clear way to, hey, do this to get a hold of me will be helpful. Another thing would be they can't afford you, right? Maybe they can't afford to buy a house at all. Okay, that's going to be a tough obstacle to overcome. Another would be that they think that they can't afford you, or they don't know that they can afford you. And so then some education is going to probably come into play. You're going to want to make sure that they know that they could technically afford you. A few others would be, let's say his wife isn't on board with you, right? Maybe you're a perfect fit for his avatar and you are the absolute opposite of what the wife would want from your avatar, or obviously vice versa, depending on who your person is. Then maybe some people, I think this is shrinking by the day, but some people, maybe they haven't heard of your brokerage, right? I'm with Real Broker. Maybe they don't know what Real Broker is, and maybe they have some loyalty, or they feel like they want to be aligned with a brokerage they've heard of. I think less and less that's not a thing, and also Real Broker is getting bigger and bigger, but even if you're at some boutique brokerage, that might be the occasional obstacle. But I think if you educate them like, hey, we are marketing our homes as well or better than these other brokerages, I think you can probably win them over as far as that obstacle is concerned. And then last one, they already know a realtor, right? They already got a good buddy who's doing the real estate thing, or friend of a friend, or a parent, or a relative, or something like that. That's going to be a difficult objection to overcome. And to some degree, maybe they just aren't your client, but also maybe you are actually a better fit for them than that person, right? Maybe you're way more up their alley than that person that they know. And they just have to be reminded that, hey, maybe you know somebody who has a pulse and a real estate license, but I'm the person you should use because I will be the best fit for you. So then you're going to want to ask yourself, where does my avatar, where does Paul in this particular situation, get their information? And I'm going to break this down into quite a few different sections, and part of it is so that you can try to position your brand and your marketing and whatever content you're putting out there to be in the right place, to be in front of your target audience, in front of your avatar. And the other is to sort of reverse engineer where are they getting their information from, so that you can see who's influencing them and maybe what are some of the other voices that are, on their radar. And so as a realtor, the first place that you gotta be thinking about is social media. Social media is free advertising. It's the most effective way, in my opinion, to get your brand out as far as dollar to dollar. Nothing beats social media. So what social media outlets are they on? And more specifically, where do they spend most of their time on social media, if any? So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then I will throw YouTube in there, even though I don't really think YouTube is a social media platform, but I think a lot of people do. So where are they viewing content mostly? Because as far as I'm concerned, YouTube is basically TV these days. So if I say YouTube is social media, then I'm like, well, I could also probably just say like basic cable as well because it's similar. But nonetheless, I'll say YouTube because a lot of people think of it that way. So where are they getting that information? What social media networks are they using? I think for some avatars, LinkedIn will be the best possible outlet that you could be putting your content on. And for others, it would be the last place you'd want to put it, right? There are certain audiences who just are not going to be paying attention to LinkedIn at all, and others where they're going to be tuned in to LinkedIn or LinkedIn to LinkedIn, but not tuned in to other things at all, to social media in general, because they're just not interested in that part of the world. And then I want you to take that bit of information, what platforms are they getting, their content on, and then take that a step further, and what content creators are they tuned into? Who is the person talking to them, right? And a bunch of people come to mind here, but obviously it could be a wide variety. But I'm thinking Casey Neistat, Gary Vee, Cody Sanchez, or it could get into more mainstream things like a Joanna Gaines, right? She's literally everywhere. Or Studio McGee, or Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Anderson Cooper. I don't care who it is. Literally, I don't care who it is. But where are they watching? Who are they most tuned into? And whose opinions probably resonate with them the most? And a lot of this, it probably will be what stuff are you tuned into and who are you fluent in, and that way you can turn around and be able to have conversations with people that are authentic because it's already the stuff that you like, right? Same goes for this next section, which is books. Probably these books are going to be somewhat aligned with the books that you're reading. Unless, again, maybe your avatar is totally different than you. That's okay. Again, just what I said earlier. Are you sure? Are you being self-aware of how you fit into the marketplace? So for books, it could be businessy books like Rich Dad Poor Dad or anything Kiyosaki writes, or something like Shoe Dog, which by the way is an awesome book. Or it could even be fiction like Brandon Sanderson, J.K. Rowling, George R.R. Martin. That's his name? Or I don't know, R.L. Stein. Then the next is magazines. I'll also sort of say e-publications and blogs kind of fit into that same realm. Like, where are you reading sources anywhere? Because I think now online is kind of the same as print. So, is it Rolling Stone or GQ or Good Housekeeping or Country Living or Guns and Ammo, right? Is it New York Times? Is it HuffPost? Is it Breaking Points? Is it The Wire? Is it TechCrunch? Forbes or Mashable? And by the way, I literally just realized I did not write this down, but I'm going to make sure that it's on this checklist or this worksheet that will be provided down in the description. Podcasts. I think podcasts is a massive source that could kind of live on its own. Social media, podcasts. That's a lot of people's, main attention span are between those two things. So let's make sure we're thinking podcasts, right? Is it Bigger Pockets? Are they more real estate investment focused, or is it more entertainment or business like Gimlet Media, stuff like that? And then into very specific things. Are there conferences that people are attending that are right up your alley? And some of them maybe, let's say Comic-Con. All right, maybe not directly aligned with your business, unless you're like the Comic-Con real estate agent, which now that I'm thinking about it, might crush. It might. Are they doing like business conferences like VCon or NAMM, which is like a music conference, or real estate conferences in general? There's all sorts of those, or these mastermind type things. Is that up their alley, or is that not at all on the table for them? And then role model. Again, you're getting kind of weird and kind of specific, but it's just write somebody down. Who is it? What might their role model be? Is it Michelle Obama? Is it Abe Lincoln? Is it Betty White? Is it Questlove, guy from The Roots? Is it Jimmy Fallon? Maybe it's Jimmy Fallon. There's 2 appearances for that guy. It could be Joanna Gaines, right? It could be some of the things that they're already paying attention to, but who's their role model? Is it their mom or dad? Shout out mom, shout out dad. And now by the time you're at this point, you should have a very good idea of like who this person is, what they're into, and who you could be and what your brand could be that would be of interest to them. And again, there's a link in the description which will lead you to this worksheet. I implore you to download it and use it to find your own avatar. I promise it will be very informative. As long as you're receptive to the idea, it will be informative. It will help you make decisions along the way. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, come hang out, as long as you want to do things differently. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.